Newly released files tied to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation are reopening one of the most disturbing and unresolved questions in modern criminal history. Whether Epstein was trafficking girls to other powerful men, while authorities publicly insisted there was no evidence to pursue third parties. And if you value serious, fact-based reporting that follows documents instead of rumors, stay with this story until the end, because the details now coming to light fundamentally challenge years of official assurances. What you are about to hear is not a theory, not speculation, and not a viral claim, but a careful reconstruction of what newly disclosed records, court filings, FBI materials, and victim testimony now show about the scope of Epstein's operation and the persistent gap between survivor accounts and law enforcement conclusions. A gap that is once again under intense scrutiny after the release of more than 3 million files connected to the late financier Jeffrey Epstein and his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The documents contain repeated allegations that Epstein did not act alone, and that part of his trafficking network involved providing girls and young women to other men. An allegation that survivors and their attorneys have made for years, but that officials have consistently downplayed by claiming there was insufficient corroboration to pursue additional suspects. A position now complicated by internal prosecution memoranda, FBI presentations, and contemporaneous reports that appear to contradict those public statements. In one newly disclosed account, an accuser describes being told by Maxwell that Epstein had to leave his residence, but that a friend was staying behind who wanted a massage, after which the man allegedly offered money for sex, an allegation that prosecutors summarized in a January 2021 memorandum signed by assistant U.S. attorneys from the Southern District of New York. A document that later became central when the woman identified Harvey Weinstein from a photograph as the man involved, though Weinstein was never charged in connection with Epstein and has categorically denied the allegations through his representatives, who emphasized that the memo recorded claims, not findings, and that no charges or formal investigation followed. A separate FBI presentation created after mid-2025 appears to reference a similar allegation in which Epstein allegedly instructed an accuser to give Weinstein a massage that escalated into threats. A claim again recorded without a corresponding prosecution, raising questions about what investigative steps were taken, what evidence was weighed, and why these accounts did not result in further action. The files also name financier Leon Black on a slide titled Prominent Names, a designation that does not itself imply guilt, but underscores that authorities were at least aware of allegations involving other wealthy individuals, including claims that Epstein instructed accusers to massage Black while he was nude, and that another woman was allegedly forced into a sexual act. Accusations Black has vehemently denied, while pointing to an independent investigation conducted by the DeChert law firm that concluded he paid Epstein for legitimate financial services and had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes. A conclusion his attorneys emphasize alongside the fact that he has not been criminally charged, and that related civil cases were dismissed or withdrawn. Yet one document in the newly released tranche states that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office began looking into allegations involving Black, a claim the office has declined to confirm or deny, further fueling uncertainty about how far investigations went behind closed doors. Beyond individual names, the documents revive long-standing concerns raised by artist Maria Farmer, who reported as early as 1996 that Epstein stole nude photographs of her and her sister, and allegedly sold them to potential buyers, a claim documented in FBI reports and echoed by later disclosures suggesting Epstein and others may have shared child sexual abuse imagery, including a 2023 letter from a lawyer reviewing Epstein estate materials, who alerted the FBI after encountering potential abuse content, believed to have been shared with Epstein by an individual previously convicted of child pornography offenses. Additional evidence appears in emails released by the House Oversight Committee showing Epstein and associates discussing girls and travel, with references that appear to involve French modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, who was arrested on charges related to the alleged rape and trafficking of minors and later died in prison, a figure long suspected of recruiting teenage girls for Epstein. The files also intersect with allegations made by Virginia Giuffa, one of Epstein's most prominent accusers, who alleged in civil filings that she was trafficked to powerful men, including royalty, and who claimed that Epstein and Maxwell forced her to have sex with Prince Andrew. Allegations the former royal has repeatedly denied, and whose death earlier this year by suicide has added renewed urgency to calls for transparency and accountability. Attorneys representing Epstein survivors now argue that the newly released documents reinforce what victims have said consistently for decades, that providing girls to influential individuals was not incidental, but central to Epstein's system of power and leverage, with Sigrid Macaulay of Boys Schiller Flexner stating that trafficking others created control over those implicated. While Jennifer Freeman of Marsh Law questions why critical FBI files remain missing, and why the Department of Justice continues to redact alleged perpetrators' names while exposing survivors, and Spencer Cuvin of GOLDLAW emphasizing that the absence of a formal client list does not mean third parties were not involved, only that investigations failed or were halted. Complicating matters further, FBI materials included a section labeled Misconceptions, asserting that Epstein did not regularly prostitute victims and that no other victim corroborated claims of being directed to have sex with other men, except for what prosecutors described as the closest anecdote involving Weinstein, a conclusion now under renewed scrutiny as additional documents and testimony surface. Taken together, these disclosures do not establish guilt, but they do expose a profound and unresolved contradiction between survivor testimony, internal law enforcement records, and public statements minimizing third-party involvement, raising a question that has haunted this case from the beginning and now demands a serious answer. If these allegations were known, recorded, and discussed inside investigative agencies, why were they never fully pursued, and who, if anyone, was protected by that silence?